Busch Stadium. They're expecting a sellout tonight. It's the Brewers and the Cardinals. It is game 3 of this series, and a series that is split 1-1 right now. The St. Louis Cardinals had a 6-game lead in the division starting September 1st. It could be down to 2, and that's because last night in the 9th inning, Chris Davis with a home run. He put the Brewers on top. Frankie Rodriguez would close it out, and the Brewers even up this series. So this one has a lot on it here tonight. Hi, everybody. We welcome you from Busch Stadium. Alongside C.J. Nitkowski, I'm Brian Anderson. Bad news for the Cardinals today. The headlines today, Carlos Martinez is out, not just for the regular season. He's out for the postseason as well, and his Cardinal team, can they withstand yet another blow, CJ?
This one might be difficult. Just 7 pitches last night for Carlos Martinez, and something looked wrong right away. But you think about this Cardinals team. No Adam Wainwright this year. It looks like Yadier Molina out, at least for a little while. We'll see how long that's going to be. Despite all that, they still have 97 wins. But this last bit of news is certainly going to be very discouraging for Mike Matheny's club. They are really going to be tested right now with the Pittsburgh Pirates breathing down their neck.
Well, they've got the Brewers here. Milwaukee would love to beat St. Louis and have an effect on this pennant race, while the Cardinals still have the best record in the major leagues. St. Louis has Pittsburgh right on their heels. The Cardinals need to win to remain 3 games up. Milwaukee has as close to their show lineup as they've had in a while. They've got Ryan Braun and Jonathan Lucroy back tonight.
Well, a lot of people would be thinking, okay, it's the end of the year. You've had some guys with a couple of injuries. Maybe they're going to sit out, but that is not the case right now with the Brewers and their stars. These guys would love to play spoiler right now. When you're in this situation as a veteran and you're playing against a team within your own division, knowing that you have a chance to be a part of knocking them out, that sometimes can be a little bit of fun for these guys. So that is certainly the situation for the Brewers in this one.
There you see Jonathan Lucroy, who will be a first baseman the rest of the season. And let's take a look at the Craig Counsell Milwaukee Brewers lineup. Gene Segura will lead off, Jonathan Lucroy, then Ryan Braun. In the middle, it's Chris Davis, Domingo Santana, and Hernan Perez, Martin Maldonado, Yadiel Rivera, and Tyler Wagner making just his 2nd start in the major leagues. And it is September baseball, and that means managers have a lot of players to go with on the bench. The Brewers have 9 bench players. Counsell's best bat on that bench is the slugging left-hander Adam Lind. And so that's the lineup, and those are the bench players. And there is the starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, and he might be one of their best going right now. Garcia making his 19th start of the season. He's had a couple of stints on the disabled list, CJ. But this guy is in prime condition, ready for this final stretch.
And his value is really going to now be utilized by the St. Louis Cardinals with the news of Carlos Martinez. And thinking about Garcia coming back from that shoulder surgery, he was activated back in May. You're not quite sure what you were going to get. You never know coming off a shoulder injury. They're the most difficult injuries to recover from, but he has been very sharp, very good for this team. And like I said, his role now may even become even more important. As you mentioned, only his 19th start. So he's probably the guy in the rotation right now that should be feeling the strongest. They very well may be relying on him heavily in the postseason.
He'll be making his 4th start of the season against the Milwaukee Brewers. The Cardinals defensively, Matt Holliday is back in there in left field. Now they've got Hayward in center field tonight. So John Jay, Tommy Pham, they will sit. Hayward moves to center, the 2-time Gold Glover with Piscotty in right field. And then an infield of Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Moss. Tony Cruz behind the plate. They are without Yadier Molina. The Cardinals are trying to survive the rest of the season. It's been an injury-filled season. That guy has missed significant time with a quad injury this year. But Holliday's starting to get his bat back together as we are inside 10 days remaining in the regular season. All right, CJ, our DraftKings players to watch. What do you have tonight?
Well, you just mentioned Stephen Piscotty, and that's a guy that I'm going to go with tonight, thinking about where he's been. 4 for 8 in this series with 5 RBIs, a first-round pick from 2012. Has done an excellent job filling in for Matt Holliday. And on the Milwaukee side of things, Chris Davis, 400 over his last 8 games with 3 home runs. He has 18 home runs in the second half. That is the 2nd best in the National League, only to Carlos Gonzalez out in Colorado.
Hey, remember, it's easy to play DraftKings, and there are thousands of dollars in prizes every day, and a promo code BALLGAME to play for free at DraftKings.com. Piscotty out in right field, making his 8th start. Had a big game here on Thursday night. This is game 3, a series that is even at a game apiece. The last place Brewers and the best team in the major leagues as far as record, the St. Louis Cardinals. And we're ready for baseball. It's a beautiful night for baseball here in St. Louis. And they are expecting once again another big crowd, a sellout crowd. And as soon as they get that gate closed, this game is going to start.
We don't want any Little League home runs, ground balls that go into right field and just continue right into the tunnel.
It's like back in the horse and buggy days, you know, they were inside the park home runs. You just played with the elements. It was such a good lead-in, too, to build up the first pitch.
We'll blame it on the gate guy.
All right, Garcia's ready to go. First pitch of the ball game to Gene Segura on the way. And it's a strike called, and off we go at Busch Stadium. Jaime Garcia has been very good against Milwaukee this year. His 3 previous starts, he's pitched into the 7th inning in all of them. First 2 starts, he gave up just 1 earned run in 14 combined innings. Last time out was earlier in the month, back on the 16th of September, just a couple of weeks ago. He went 6 1/3 with 4 earned runs in that game. Segura, the talented young shortstop for the Brewers. We'll be talking a little bit about Milwaukee and their transition. They are in a rebuild mode. They have torn down a good part of their organization. They've hired a new general manager, David Stearns, whom they got from the Houston Astros. So we'll get into all of that and Craig Counsell's plan and what they're hoping to be down the road. But for the Cardinals, it's the here and now after the Pirates beat the Cubs earlier today. Garcia will make the play. That's how the night begins for Jaime Garcia.
Great job right there by Garcia, fielding his own position and kind of watching him and what you can expect tonight. Not a lot of swings and misses. He's not a high strikeout guy, but he's got excellent command. He's walking just 2.1 batters per 9 innings, and it's going to be very typical lefty. He's seeing 9 righties in this lineup, working that fastball away, the 2-seamer, the changeup. We saw the breaking ball to finish that at bat, but also the fastball before that to kind of knock Segura off the plate. Excellent command from Garcia. He's not going to be a guy that's necessarily going to blow you away with his stuff.
Here's Jonathan Lucroy getting a start at first base here tonight. Lucroy has been out. He suffered a concussion and missed 16 days. He did not go on the disabled list. You won't find him on any transaction wire, but Lucroy has not been playing, and he will not catch the rest of the season. When he plays, he'll either pinch hit or play first base, and he'll typically only start at first base against left-handers.
Which I think makes a ton of sense. Obviously, you don't want him back there thinking about foul tips. Of course, he's dealt with the broken toe as well. Just thinking about here at this point in the season where the Milwaukee Brewers are, they're not contending. Why take that risk of having him behind the plate? Go ahead and let him get his at-bats and let him get some work into first base, because that could be a position that they may want to use him a little bit more next year. He's
had pinch hit appearances the last 2 games, and he's had hits in both of those games. He finished the game last night at first base, and he wraps one back up the middle, and a single for Jonathan Lucroy. Well, he's come back well after a layoff.
Well, I talked about the command for Garcia and what you're going to see, but trying to work that fastball in and actually misses it right over the middle. That's a good pitch to hit for Jonathan Lucroy. See the swing, good balance, head down, stays right through the middle of that ball. Good at bat for Lucroy.
Starts to feel a bit like a go-figure game for the Cardinals as they're dealing with all of their injuries. The Brewers are actually maybe getting a little healthier, and for the first time in a while, they have Braun and Lucroy in the lineup together. Braun has been out. He has missed 8 games with a back strain and is actually going to require surgery this offseason. Had a pinch hit appearance last night, and he is back in the starting lineup here today. First start in 8 days, and I would imagine, CJ, knowing this matchup here, Brewers Cardinals, especially in this division, the Cardinals are the primary reason why Braun wants to get back in the lineup tonight.
I think that's absolutely part of it. I mentioned that in the open, a little bit of kind of wanting to play a role in spoiler at this point in the season for some veteran guys. They don't like seeing these other teams contend. They don't like seeing these other teams preparing for the postseason when you know you're going home. So I think for Ryan Braun, Jonathan Lucroy absolutely want to play a part in making things very difficult for the Cardinals.
Braun has a herniated disc that will require minor surgery and about a month of rehab following the season. The surgery is already scheduled, and he said as long as the inflammation's down and he doesn't have the tingling in his legs and feet, then he's okay to play.
The other thing that's interesting too, you think about, and I asked Craig Counsell about it, the risk versus reward for guys that have had some injury issues. There's a lot of value not only to them finishing out their year, but also playing with all of these young guys, right? These are guys that got a lot of young guys right now in that Milwaukee Brewers lineup. Why not see how Ryan Braun plays every day, how Jonathan Lucroy plays every day, how those guys go about their business? There's a lot of value in the example that they can set at this time of year.
Runner at first with one away, and Braun swings and misses. Garcia picks up his first strikeout. Second out of the inning. How about our keys to the game? Sponsored by Ford.
We're looking at the St. Louis Cardinals right now for me, and it's going to be about applying pressure. This is the 6th straight game where the Cardinals are facing a rookie starter, going up against Tyler Wagner, try to get to him early. And for the Brewers, for me, trying to keep it close. They're going to have a hard time, I think, with this St. Louis lineup, but trying to keep the game close, thinking about turning it over to the bullpen. The Brewers' bullpen has actually been very good against the Cardinals this year, a 1.53 ERA, much like we saw last night. I think that'd be a good repeat here for the Brewers.
Now with 2 away, here is Chris Davis, who hit the deciding home run last night. 9th inning home run off Trevor Rosenthal in last night's game. And you mentioned Davis's home run numbers. His 24 home runs is second on the Brewers team, but he has hit 16 home runs since August 6th, averaging about a homer every 9 at-bats during that stretch.
That's a scary number, and you see Garcia right there trying to back him off the plate, showing him that fastball in, but he's going to try to ultimately get him out away, using that two-seam fastball, that changeup that he has, trying to keep Chris Davis off balance. When you have a guy that is this locked in and you're going righty-lefty, I don't care what the splits say, because the splits actually work in Garcia's favor. It doesn't matter to me. I like what's going on with how hot a hitter is, and right now Chris Davis is very hot.
Davis spent some time on the disabled list, had knee surgery, had a torn meniscus earlier this season. He missed a month, and then when he came back, the Brewers had Gerardo Parra so hot and were in an attempt to trade Parra, which they did, to the Baltimore Orioles. So that August 6th number, that was right at the trade deadline. The end of July is when Davis started to get some regular playing time again once Parra was out of the picture, and that August 6th date is the demarcation for this tremendous power, and he's shown big power early in his career. He's hit 3 homers in his last 8 games. Brewers have been a struggling ball club, 65 and 89 for the season, last place in the division as Davis sends one to center field. That's Hayward out there tonight. The 2-time Gold Glover moves over from right, and that's the inning. Good start for Jaime Garcia in front of a sea of red here in St. Louis. Now the Cardinals are coming to bat. tonight. Brewers, Cardinals. Key matchup for St. Louis. And here is the batting order for Mike Matheny. He's got Carpenter, Piscotty, and Holiday at the top. Middle of the order is Hayward, Peralta, and Moss, and then Wong, Cruz, and Garcia will round out the starting 9 for Matheny. And he has an 11-man bench, but you certainly can't look for Yadier Molina. Not on the disabled list right now, but certainly not available here tonight. So the Cardinals will face a rookie pitcher for the 6th consecutive game. And it is Tyler Wagner, who is up from Double-A. Made one start earlier this season for Milwaukee. That was on Memorial Day against the Diamondbacks. It didn't go so well, but he went back to Double-A. CJ had a fantastic year, was the Southern League ERA leader.
I almost have to wonder if this feels like his debut all over again, because you mentioned it was so long ago back in May, and now here he comes into St. Louis with what's supposed to be a sold-out crowd in a great playoff atmosphere. The adrenaline, I'm sure, for him is running just as high as it was back in May. Sinker slider pitcher. When he's going well, he's going to be generating lots of ground balls. He's not going to overpower guys with his fastball. We saw the first couple there at 88. We may see him 88 to 92, touching 94, but it's going to be the location and the movement on that sinker that can make him successful.
Matt Carpenter in the leadoff spot tonight. He's had a great year in the power numbers, the slugging percentage, career high 26 home runs for him this year. And even though he's given up a little bit in the batting average category, you can understand feeling the need to bring a little slugging to the ball club without players like Matt Holliday and Matt Adams. And Carpenter has been a major power threat this season. Every home run he hits will establish a new career best. So from an offensive perspective, though, the Cardinals are in this wheel facing 6 consecutive rookies. All rookies in the Reds rotation, all rookies in the Brewers rotation. They've done a lot of winning during this stretch, but it does send you to the drawing board with as much video as you can muster from the minor leagues.
Well, certainly there's a lot more information out there than there ever has been in the past, but you can read scouting reports, you can watch video all day long. You have no idea what to expect until you actually step in the box. What does the fastball look like? All fastballs are not created equal, even if they are the same velocity. What's the deception like? What is the movement like? And now for Matt Carpenter, he's trying to gain information, and there's going to be guys asking him what happened and what it looked like right after the setback.
Hard hit ball out to center field. Domingo Santana runs it down. You've met Santana. The rest of the Brewers defensively, they are actually operating without a true center fielder. Santana's a corner outfielder, but with Braun back in the lineup, it goes Davis, Santana, and Braun, and then Perez, Rivera, and Lucroy go around the horn. Yadier Rivera at second with Segura at short. So one away. Here is Stephen Piscotty. Now, what a story he has been. Piscotty in this series on Thursday night drove in 4 runs, hit a go-ahead solo home run in that game. That followed a Johnny Peralta 3-run homer. Cardinals won that game 7-3. And Piscotty is one of those examples this year, as we mentioned in our pregame show today, CJ. Just another guy that the Cardinals have been able to call on that has produced and had a lot of success with the star power on the disabled list.
Well, I think a guy that this scouting department, that the player development department is very proud of. When you go out and you make your first-round pick, and he was a first-round pick back in 2012, when you see that guy get to the big leagues and contribute right away, especially at a time when this team had such a huge need, that's something to be very proud of.
And that one is on a hop, and that's going to be a base hit. So Piscotty will reach on Wagner. Had one shot at it, didn't make it. And an infield hit for Piscotty.
Well, this is a pretty difficult play for Wagner. As you watch this, we talked about the ground ball, right? Look at this ball jump up. It's kind of off to the side, as a lot of pitchers will finish. That's the way they finish, not always squared up to the mound, reaching up. It would have taken a really good play for him to field that ball cleanly. And unfortunately for Wagner, it's going to be an infield base hit for Piscotty.
Well, Piscotty, since he started playing regularly with more RBIs than any other St. Louis Cardinal, he's driven in 38 since the 3rd week of July 21st. He typically plays for Holiday, but Holiday's in there tonight in left field. First ball swinging. He fouls it away. This is a bat the Cardinals are trying to get back together. I asked Mike Matheny today, how many at-bats do you feel comfortable with going into the postseason with Holiday. He didn't answer that. He wasn't going to bite on that one, but he's not where he wants to be just yet. And Holiday, after missing all of that time and a couple of trips to the disabled list with a quad injury, wants to make sure he doesn't go back on the DL for the rest of the season. It's that one hard in the left center. That's going to be trouble for Milwaukee. All the way to the wall it goes. Piscotty around third on his way, and he will score. And Matt Holliday gives the Cardinals the early lead.
Well, Matt Holliday decided that he was not going to wait around and get a look at what Tyler Wagner was bringing to the table. And as soon as he got a pitch that he could handle, he jumped all over it. And you see it's a slider that didn't move very much, sat in the middle of the plate. Maldonado wanted that ball down and away. And Matt Holliday is always impressive. The first time he sees a breaking ball from a pitcher that he has never faced, to be able to hit it that hard just speaks to how good of a hitter and how much he has been missed in this lineup.
Piscotty off to the races, able to score easily without a throw. St. Louis strikes first. Back-to-back hits, an RBI for Holiday, and here is Jason Hayward, who hits cleanup tonight, and he's on the first pitch, fouls it away. Well, Holiday hits the ball with such velocity off the bat. That double coming off the bat at 103 miles per hour. Well, usually any elevation on those are going out of the ballpark.
Absolutely. I think Tyler Wagner happy he didn't get under that just a little bit more. But Matt Holliday, one of the stronger players in Major League Baseball, stings it built really almost a little bit like a fullback. This guy bringing a lot of strength and a lot of bat speed. And when he squares it up, he hits it as hard as anybody in Major League Baseball.
Runner at second with one away. Hayward takes a ball. Jason Hayward, he's hit up and down the lineup this year. Settled into more of a run producing role lately. He's been healthy this season. Got a high batting average. 12 home runs this year. Always brings great defense to the mix. And he's given the Cardinals an element of speed. He and Colton Wong are the two real base stealing threats for St. Louis.
It was an interesting pickup. You look at this trade between the Atlanta Braves and the St. Louis Cardinals, and Shelby Miller going over to Atlanta, and early on it looked like the Braves had won that deal, and long term they'll end up probably with the better players. But thinking about all the injuries that the St. Louis Cardinals had this year and wondering where they might be or where they would be if they didn't have Jason Hayward in that lineup.
General Manager John Mozeliak, one of the best in the business, and the results prove it so. They are anxious here in St. Louis, but they still have 97 wins. Looks like they're on their way to a 100-win season. It's been since the 06 season since they've won triple digits. But I beg your pardon, the 05 season since they won 100. But they do have company, and you start to wonder who's feeling the heat the most. The team that's out in front that keeps their distance, or the team like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who have won 95 games and they can hardly make up any ground on St. Louis.
I would say for me that right now the St. Louis Cardinals are feeling it a little bit, especially with the news about Carlos Martinez, seeing how well the Pittsburgh Pirates are playing. Everyone assumed that the Cardinals were going to win this division, and all of a sudden here come the Pirates. They know they're going to be, worst case scenario, a wild card team. Nobody wants to play that wild card game, and so now chasing the Cardinals for me, and they'll never show it on the outside, but they're probably the team with a little bit more pressure on them right now.
Carlos Martinez, devastating news for him. You could see it in his face last night when he left him out. He knew something was wrong. He is not going to need surgery. That is the positive in all of this. But he will not pitch again this season. As Wagner walks Jason Hayward. So 2 on with 1 away. Cardinals trying to put together an historic season here in St. Louis. Go back to the 1950 season. So they have 97 wins. That 2004 ball club won 105 games, lost in the World Series that year to Boston, and then 05 they backed it up with another 100-win season.
It's so interesting when you think about divisional play and how things work. 97 wins, they haven't clinched a division yet. The Mets 87 wins and clinched the National League East today.
Right, congratulations to the Mets and Terry Collins. And Matt Harvey was out there for a long time today. Went deep into the game, nearly 100 pitches to secure that National League East.
6 2/3 innings. I thought for sure he would have been done after 6. We thought maybe it would have been a 5-inning performance, and he had a big lead in that game too. So hopefully that does not come back to bite the Mets, because at this point now they just want every inning they can get out of Matt Harvey in the postseason.
So the broadcaster says he went a long time today, and Nolan Ryan falls out of his chair.
That's exactly right. We are in a new world.
So it's all in the context of the Dark Knight. A run is in, 2 are on. Cardinals have 8 games remaining, by the way, including this one. Peralta on the ground, and it's through for a base hit. Holiday will make the turn. He's in. Johnny Peralta with an RBI. His bat starting to come alive here in the last couple of weeks for St. Louis. 2-0 Redbirds right out of the gates against the rookie right-hander.
Well, Tyler Wagner got exactly what he wanted, was to throw this sinker down and in or down over the plate, but generate the ground ball. But Gene Segura just a little bit off into the hole, was unable to get to this ball. And I'm sure Tyler Wagner thinking it was going to be a double play off the bat. Great effort by Segura in kind of a tough break. You get the ground ball. Didn't sound like he may have broken his bat, but ultimately it ends up being a hit for Johnny Peralta.
Pitching coach Rick Kranitz out to settle down Wagner. And let's give you a little more context on Wagner. We talked about that game he started at the end of May. And there was a moment in that game that Craig Counsell thought changed everything for him. He made a good pitch on Paul Goldschmidt, who powered a home run to the opposite field in the first inning, and he thought Wagner maybe got a little bit out of his game then, and he's hoping not to do that here tonight.
Every pitcher goes through it when you get to the big leagues. There was pitches that you're used to getting by minor league hitters or inducing weak contact against minor league hitters, and now all of a sudden big league guys are either fouling those pitches off or they're hitting him hard. In the case of Paul Goldschmidt, that was a tough one to swallow for Wagner. A well-located fastball that he hit out to right field. He has never faced a hitter as good as Paul Goldschmidt in his entire life, and he's never seen a hitter do that to a well-located fastball. It is the process for every pitcher. You go through it, and as Craig Counsell said, it's a good thing. It's ultimately how do you react to that? Do you get scared and not throw that pitch again or not throw strikes? You got to be able to get over it and go right back after these guys.
And his message was the rest of those hitters aren't Paul Goldschmidt either. So
that's
manage the lineup. Know who can do damage. Everybody in the big leagues can do damage typically, but you really got to know how to manage a big league lineup. So that's all part of the learning process. Brewers put a shift on there, a extreme shifting ball club. So Brandon Moss will have to deal with that shift. Just 6 hits in his last 37 at-bats. Moss did have a hit last night in a pinch hit appearance.
Well, the idea right now for Tyler Wagner, what he's thinking about, is inducing another ground ball, giving his team another chance to try to get a double play. But as he falls behind here 3-1 in the count, he can't pick on the corners, and now he's going to have to go right at Brandon Moss. Brandon Moss, a veteran hitter, expect him, if he sees a pitch that he likes, to take a pretty healthy swing.
2 runs are in on 3 hits and a walk. Holiday with a ringing RBI double into the gap in left center. Peralta just drove one in on a ground ball through. And Moss draws the walk. Second walk, and the bases are loaded. And Tyler Wagner stepping on the hot coals here early in St. Louis. That'll bring up Colton Wong.
Certainly struggling now, and the atmosphere probably not helping either for Tyler Wagner. His heart racing 100 miles an hour, trying to figure out a way to manage this inning. The walk is certainly indicative of a guy who maybe is losing a little bit of confidence after what he has seen so far in this inning. But now it's time to regroup. Time to try to get, again, that ground ball. The Brewers are going to play the infield back, and so still staying with the same attitude. How can I get a ground ball and manage this inning?
Wong's a tough guy to double up. He runs well, especially out of the left side of that box. Gets him to first a little quicker. Big spot for him.
Maldonado looked a little, kind of received that ball a little strange. I don't know if he was surprised by the movement. I don't think he was expecting something else, because if there was any lack in communication, he would have been out there right now.
Bases loaded. 2 runs in for St. Louis. And Wong takes one down and in. 2 balls, no strikes. And Maldonado and the third baseman Perez will meet Wagner at the mound. Not a good start. Now, it has been a week and a day. 8 days between starts for Tyler Wagner. His last start was a gym, but it was in the Southern League Championship Series against Chattanooga. He goes from the Lookouts to the Cardinals. But it is a little bit out of his routine here. Get into an every 5th day routine throughout the season. And I'm sure he's been anxious sitting on this big league start for some time, and he misses inside, and it's 3 balls and no strikes.
One thing you want to see from him here is to not lose that confidence and not be afraid to put the ball in the strike zone, and also not to get tentative either. You think about, okay, I just want to throw strikes. You still have to do it aggressively. You don't go in at about 80%. You got to go everything you have here, 90, 95%. And thinking about believing in your stuff, staying aggressive in the zone.
You saw Tyler Thornburg up and throwing already in the 1st inning. 3 balls and a strike on Wong, and a swing and a shot and a base hit. Hayward is in. Peralta, he's coming in. The throw to the plate. Too strong and up the line. 2 more runs score on a cold Wong single. And the Cardinals lead it 4-0 out of the gates quickly tonight.
Well, this is what I mentioned in the open about putting pressure on a young starter, and the Cardinals have absolutely done that. They've been patient, not chasing anything out of the zone, but at the same time, they've been aggressive when they see strikes, even early in the count from the first couple of hitters. As you see Peralta scoring from second, and a throw that was on line may have had him. We'll see right here. And a lot of times you see that throw start to sail up the line. If that throw's on the money, we probably have a play at the plate.
Instead, it's a 2 RBI hit. Colton Wong now over the 60 RBI number. Has 61 this season. And the 8th batter of the inning is coming up, Tony Cruz. Still just 1 out. Still 2 men on. And Wagner misses high.
And I think it's fair to say for Tyler Wagner here a little bit maybe earlier than expected, but there's an opportunity right now in Milwaukee with some of the moves that they've made, and even though the start is not going particularly well, there's still value in it for him, is to make sure that he's learning from every mistake that he makes, every situation that he has been in. You could not put him in a bigger situation right now in the National League than coming in here and trying to face these St. Louis Cardinals.
Craig Counsell talked to us before the game. He said, you know, it's not ideal that Wagner makes this start tonight. Essentially, it's a second big league start, but they're treating it like a debut here tonight. It's not ideal, but hey, it's his turn in the rotation. And
Absolutely.
It's a 6-month season.
Absolutely. You take these opportunities when you get them. And like I said, it's going to be difficult. We've seen it already for him in the 1st inning, falling behind, as we see Craig Counsell and bench coach Jerry Narentine talking this over a little bit and observing and watching, because they're looking for signs. They're trying to figure out what Tyler Wagner's doing, what he's thinking, and how his approach has been through this entire inning.
Now Cruz with a big swing and a miss. 2-2 the count. First batter of the inning for Wagner was Matt Carpenter, and he hit a line shot to center that was caught by Santana. Infield hit, then a double by Holiday. A couple of walks in the inning. Peralta driving in a run, and Wong with a 2 RBI single. Cardinals have done good work scouting rookie pitchers all season long, especially in this stretch. They got a .286 team batting average against rookie pitchers, and that tells you that they're able to scour as much video as they can and do a lot of scouting on these players coming up. It used to be you never saw video of a AA pitcher, but David Bell and company, I'm sure they have plenty of resources to go find all they want on these guys now.
Well, I'm sure, and also thinking about where the Brewers were, and knowing that there were some trades coming deadline time, that they were heavily scouted at every level. Certainly the prospects, like you said, video now everywhere. You can pretty much watch just about every game online.
Chance to turn it here. Segura, Yadiel Rivera makes a turn and a double play to end the inning. So Wagner survives and advances. Maybe Cardinals off to the start they were looking for tonight. A 4 spot in the 1st. inning, sun setting on the arch. That's beautiful.
Very cool.
Say the MLB postseason begins on October 6th. The AL Wild Card on ESPN. October 7th, the NL Wild Card on TBS. And then October 8th, it's Game 1 of both American League Division Series. Only on FS1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go. Can't wait for postseason baseball.
It is going to be terrific this year. Some great matchups. The National League certainly has some great ones, but really all the way around. And what I love about this season, there is no juggernaut. There is no team that you're saying, how are we going to get past this team? The Toronto Blue Jays are maybe one of the strongest in baseball right now, but by no means are they a guaranteed winner or a guaranteed team to be in the World Series.
Domingo Santana leads off, and a little ground ball to third base. So Jaime Garcia pitching well in the first inning, gave up a single to Lucroy, but came back, had a strikeout on Ryan Braun. Now he's staked to a lead, and those all-important shutdown innings gets the first man out.
Well, Jaime Garcia has been around, and he knows how to take care of business, and so now an ideal situation for him. A quick inning here, getting Tyler Wagner right back on the mound, keeping the pressure on him would be ideal.
That Brewers bullpen settles down, so it looks like Wagner is going to head back out for a second inning. Hernan Perez batting for Milwaukee. 37 first inning pitches for Tyler Wagner. 4 runs in on 4 Cardinal hits and 2 walks. And Perez into left field. Holiday is there for out number 2. Be interesting to look at the St. Louis rotation, and you're not going to get any comments from the Cardinals, especially Mike Matheny, because they're in grind mode trying to win a division. But let's just go ahead and, just for argument's sake, say they win the division and you put them into the postseason in the DS. Derek Lilliquist knows that he has some options there, trying to get Walker back to form, trying to get Lance Lynn back to form. Jaime Garcia has been one of those guys that you can rely on, and as you mentioned, he's going to have that fresh arm, it feels like, going into the postseason. This is his 19th start of the season here tonight. But the guy who's pitching better than anybody right now is John Lackey.
Well, I think Lackey's going to be your Game 1 starter, I think, without a doubt, despite the great year that Michael Wacha has had. John Lackey's the most experienced. He's been there and done that. Obviously, we saw Wacha 2 years ago and how good he was in the postseason. But for me, it's Lackey right now, most likely Wacha. But Garcia is a very interesting guy, especially with the injury to Martinez and where he actually fits in this rotation, especially, as you mentioned, with Lance Lynn struggling.
There's Martin Maldonado with a single to right. Maldonado had a 3-run home run against Jaime Garcia in Garcia's last start against the Brewers back in Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago.
Great job here by Maldonado as we see Garcia trying to go in with the fastball. That ball runs middle away and doesn't try to pull that ball, and does a great job beating the shift.
So a 2-out base runner, and it'll be Yadiel Rivera. He came along to ride with Tyler Wagner to Milwaukee. The Brewers called up 6 players from their AA club earlier this week. Milwaukee was in Chicago playing the Cubs. They were waiting on their AA team to finish their playoff run. And Rivera's one of the 6, and he's not around long. On the first pitch, he grounds out. Jaime Garcia with 2 scoreless. Cardinals coming up. They lead it 4-0 early at Busch. legendary heavyweights meet for the first time. Josh Barnett takes on Roy Nelson in a long-awaited matchup. Plus, it's the biggest challenge yet for Uriah Hall as he takes on Gegard Mousasi. UFC Fight Night after our game, only on FS1 from CJ Nitkowski's second home, Japan.
Those are a couple of bad-looking dudes right there. Not those two. I meant the ones in the promo. Sorry.
They don't quite fit. They are wearing Steelers gear. The Steelers are here to play the Rams tomorrow.
Maybe they just wanted to come and let everybody know, just be reminded that the Pittsburgh Pirates are on their heels.
Representing, there are a lot of them. Downtown has had an influx of Steelers and Pirates fans getting ready for the matchup tomorrow at the Dome. Big showdown series coming up. St. Louis at Pittsburgh, following the series with the Brewers. And so, the Pirates are trying to get that number inside 3 for that 3-game series. And then anything can happen. Best 3 records in the National League. Cardinals, Pirates, Cubs.
It's incredible how good that division has been. The Cubs probably the biggest surprise of the group. I think we all thought coming into the 2015 season that they were a team that was probably a year away, but they've been terrific this season.
Perez in foul territory will make the catch for the first out. So the 3 best records in the National League, they have all clinched. The Cubs were able to clinch, and they had a big celebration today after a 4-0 loss. Cubs are still looking for their 90th win of the year, but they've got postseason baseball coming to Chicago, at least from the north side, for the first time since 2008, and it's the 3rd straight trip for the Pirates. They've been in that wild card game the last 2 years, won 2 years ago, lost to the Giants, Madison Bumgarner and the Giants last season. They want no part of that one-and-done wild card game. They want to win the division.
Yeah, nobody does, and I like how things have changed in Pittsburgh. Andrew McCutchen, after they clinched, not satisfied with that anymore. After going those 20 seasons of never being over 500, the expectations now 3rd year in a row that they're going to the postseason, and it's not about getting there for them. It's not like, hey, we made it, isn't that cute? It is about still trying to win this division. That culture has changed. Clint Hurdle, Neil Huntington, they have done an excellent job in Pittsburgh, and the expectations have been raised.
Just a strike there to Carpenter. Back to the top of the order, Wagner. Just the opposite approach for Joe Maddon's Cubs. He said, forget that. This is Chicago. These are the Cubs. Haven't seen a postseason in a long time. We're going to party, even after a loss. And the guy who wore it more than anybody was J.P. Morosi. Well done. There's a shot right to second base. Carpenter has hit the ball sharply twice. Nothing to show for it. 2 up, 2 down for Tyler Wagner.
Well, I'll tell you, knowing J.P. Morosi, John Paul Morosi, and working with him a bunch, he was absolutely loving being a part of that and having a front row seat. And they certainly had a really good time in Chicago. But they know they're a wild card team, so now it's about what's going to happen with them, who they're going to face, and trying to get past that 1-game wild card. But they have to be feeling very good about their chances, knowing that they have Jake Arrieta available for that wild card game.
He is an ace among aces right now. And there's a lot of discussion for that Cy Young Award. Hey, there's a Cubs fan.
They're infiltrated everywhere. I thought this was a sea of red, but we're seeing
it is
the
baseball,
black and gold.
It's baseball heaven. They're courteous here. That one's lined into left center. Piscotty with an extra base hit. So a 2-out double for Stephen Piscotty. His second hit of the game.
Brian, I'm not a guy who likes to toot my own horn, but I don't know if you paid attention to what we talked about pregame with the DraftKings picks to click. Here we are in the second inning, and Stephen Piscotty already has 2 hits, but a really nice swing here. We talked about this kid and how comfortable he has been pretty much right from the start, getting an opportunity to fill in for Matt Holland, and he puts a nice swing on that pitch. And here we are, like I said, just the second inning, and he's already got a double and a single in this game.
You did make 2 picks, though.
Right.
Right.
Plenty of time.
Okay. Davis did fly out to center field. I'm just saying. I mean,
appreciate you knocking me off my perch.
Accentuating the positive. Piscotty, he's been a good pick for anyone here lately. What a run he's on. Holiday, he's up there swinging away early again.
I liked what Medini said when he was talking about Piscotty, talking about how here's an intelligent kid coming out of Stanford. And a lot of times you can be an overthinker sometimes if you're too smart. There's a balance in there. But he talked about how this kid has a tremendous approach to the game. He loves to learn, and he's very easy for the coaches to work with. He's constantly trying to get information, but yet he doesn't overwhelm himself to the point where he becomes paralyzed when he's actually out there in the game.
Oh, he's got a pretty impressive degree. It's about 3 or 4 names, but I know it ends in engineering. And Matheny was impressed that he's been able to take the book smarts, the intelligence of it, and been able to turn that into baseball intelligence, right? So he's paying attention. He's pouring through scouting reports. His at bats. He's making adjustments. He's just a guy who thirsts for knowledge in every walk of his life, including his baseball life. And a guy that had to be so disappointed last year. It was a position change for him last year. Let's see where that got Holiday. It looked like he got him right on the shin.
Saw Matt Holliday as he got up a little bit frustrated, kicking the dirt. That's the last thing he wants at this point, right, is to have any kind of other injury that's going to take him out of the lineup, trying to make up ground for all the lost games that he's had and getting big league at bats and getting to the point where he can contribute to this team again.
1-2 pitch. Back in there goes Wagner. 2-2 now. Now Piscotty had a change of position. Thought maybe, where am I going to go? What's this going to be like? Is there going to be a big league career? Am I going to be more than, just a role player or an extra player? And he got his opportunity this year, and he has made the most of it. 2-2, and Wagner missing again. Full count to Holiday. By the way, Piscotty's degree, just to
it's all you
to cash it in. It is a degree in atmosphere and energy engineering.
Pretty impressive.
Yes.
Probably one of the smarter guys in Major League Baseball, though Craig Breslow might have that one in Boston wrapped up, but certainly a couple of right.
Liner left field. That's going to go all the way to the fence. And Piscotty is in. That is double number 2 for Matt Holliday. Comes on a 2-out, 2-strike pitch from Wagner. And the Cardinals are up 5-0.
Well, Tyler Wagner put himself in a pretty difficult position when you're facing Matt Holliday in a 3-2 count. He's already had a couple of walks this game. He doesn't want to walk anybody else, so he goes right at him with the fastball, but it doesn't do much as it sits there just above the belt. Matt Holliday just does not miss fastballs in that location, especially ones that are not particularly overpowering, and that's 2 at-bats, 2 doubles here for Matt Holliday, and Mike Matheny has to be thrilled with what he has seen so far from his left fielder.
Well, 2 at-bats for Matt Holliday, and he has exit speeds off the bat of 103 and 101. A changeup that hung in there right in the wheelhouse of Matt Holliday. 2 outs, a run is in. Here is Hayward now. Walked his last time up in the first, and he's swinging away. Bouncer over to second base. Yadiel Rivera makes a play to win the inning. So the Cardinals strike again. They lead it 5-0. The Big Muddy, the old man, the mighty Mississippi on a beautiful Saturday. The Cardinals up 5-0. All starts Saturday with the AL wild card on Tuesday night, October 6th, 8 p.m. on ESPN. It's the NL wild card on Wednesday night, October 7th, 8 p.m. on TBS. So just go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule as Wagner will bat. And he rolls to short. And it's a scoop over there at first base by Moss. Time for a game break. We check in with Mike Hill in Los Angeles. Mike. And it's been a good matchup. The Cubs and the Pirates, and you have all these the Mets with their great three young starters. It's going to be a pitching postseason, it feels like, with some really talented young new names on the scene.
Well, thinking about that Dodger-Mets matchup, we're not sure where it's going to be yet, but you talked about the pitchers, and I would say even four. Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, Matt Harvey, and Steven Matz has done a really nice job of kind of climbing up the ladder and where he's going to fit into that postseason rotation for the New York Mets. Think about it. I'm sure, I don't know if it's going to go Kershaw, Greinke, Kershaw, whatever 1 and 2 is going to be in Los Angeles. Those first two games in the NLDS are going to be terrific.
Yeah, but so often starting pitching sometimes doesn't carry you to the next round. Never forget the Orioles and the Tigers last year. Detroit rolling out all of those aces, those Cy Young Award winners, and Scherzer and Verlander and David Price, and the Orioles swept them. The Orioles with that great bullpen.
Well, thinking about too, I mean, the Kansas City Royals, how they got there. Yes, James Shields was the race, but it was pretty kind of up and down as far as what they had in the rest of the rotation. They rode out that bullpen. That's what got them to Game 7 of the World Series. And you look at the 3 championships that the Giants have and the steady bullpen that they have had over those years. There's something like 17 or 18 World Series rings in that Giants bullpen because they have been so good. So I agree with you. It's always going to surprise us how it actually happens and how it actually goes down. And a lot will be dependent on the bullpens.
Now, these two teams matched up, the Brewers and the Cardinals, in the 2011 NLCS, as Segura, that's gloved out at second base by Wong to his feet, and it's an out. What a play by Colton Wong. And Segura can fly. So there was a lot more to that than with most base runners. Heck of a play by Wong for the second out.
And it almost seemed like Brandon Moss was shocked that he got to this ball, because we see Colton Wong jump up and we watch the throw, but watch the footwork here from Moss. Not quite sure if he had the bag. That right foot was actually beyond the bag. Does a nice job of recovering, but an incredible play by Colton Wong.
Now that is the best of the series thus far. Wong takes a hit away from the speedy Segura. And here's Jonathan Lucroy with 2 away. But the Brewers and the Cardinals in 2011, you might remember, that was a series won in 6 games by the St. Louis. And a starting pitcher never got into the 6th inning for the Cardinals in any of those games. One of the more shrewd trades for John Mozeliak, the addition of Zepchinski and Dotel, and Tony La Russa's last hoorah in St. Louis was a World Series title, the 11th in 2011. And that just goes to show you, you have the great starting pitching, and there is going to be some great starting pitching in the postseason, but it seems to always end up in those last 3 innings.
There is not a manager in baseball right now that is headed to the postseason or might be headed to the postseason that thinks he has enough bullpen right now. They are all wondering, could we be a little deeper? Could we use another arm? Because they know how heavily they are going to depend on that bullpen once the postseason starts.
Garcia's got Lucroy 1 and 2. Lucroy has one of the 2 Milwaukee hits. That was a single in the first inning. Cardinals got 4 in the bottom of the first. They added 1 in the bottom of the second. Holiday with 2 doubles, 2 RBIs. Colton Wong is driven in a pair and just made a beautiful play at second base. A little jam shot into foul territory. They talk about Garcia. Not only is he tough to hit, and if you talk to big league hitters who have faced him, his ball has that little extra life one way or the other. There's really no way to get the good read on him. Sometimes it cuts into a right-handed hitter. He's got a little bit of sink sometimes. He has the great breaking stuff, the off speed, the changeups. But even talking to Mike Matheny, he's a difficult guy to catch as well.
Which is surprising because you look at the numbers and you say, okay, it's a fastball that sits around 90 miles an hour. You have a cutter that sits around 83. How hard could that be to catch? But it's all about the deception. It's all about the funkiness. He said he believes he may be one of the most difficult pitchers in baseball to catch. That's a big statement when you think about guys that are throwing 96 to 98 miles an hour with that nasty sinker or maybe the big breaking ball. Thinking of a guy like Dylan Betances, how difficult he must be to catch. But Mike Matheny knows what he's talking about, and it's such an asset for Jaime Garcia to be able to be one of those guys that is so difficult to pick up on, despite the fact he doesn't have the big fastball.
2-2 to Lucroy, misses up and in. Yeah, he has to lead the league in thumb busters, right? If you've ever caught, it's just that that fraction of movement that prevents you from catching it in the pocket, which feels good and sounds good, gets you in on that thumb, which does not feel good and sounds like you just caught a shot put. But that's a good problem for a pitcher. 3-2 at Lucroy, a little chopper over to third base. Carpenter will wind it up, and that will retire the side. But a sparkler defensively early in this game. Wong already with 2 RBIs, flashing a little leather as well. Colton Wong, a diving stop and a throw to first. I promise, it really happened.
Movement that happens and how difficult it can be to catch. But watch Tony Cruz right here, expecting a fastball away that's going to finish away. Instead, that ball cuts in and it just catches you right on the thumb. And for Garcia, hopefully a guy that takes good care of his catches, because after every night, it's ice on the thumb, it's shaking the hand, maybe punching your pitcher in his non-pitching arm to let him know how much that really hurts. But certainly not a fun thing for a catcher.
Yeah, when you take pride in your defense, as Cruz standing behind Peter Borges there, when you take pride in how you catch and the hands that guys like Cruz has behind the plate, and of course Yadier Molina, who's out with a thumb injury, you hate catching balls that way. But sometimes it's kind of like a knuckleball pitcher at times. You just have to relax and try to make the best of it. Just react. And there's going to be a few that end up at the screen.
It's where you count on your hands, but sometimes there's just nothing you can do. I think the important thing for catchers is that you don't get lazy back there, and you understand that that might happen, and you anticipate that that may happen. You're not always relying on a guy to sink the ball exactly the way you're expecting, especially when you know it's a guy like Garcia, and it happens often.
Now Matheny's club out to a 5-0 lead as we play in the bottom of the third. Johnny Peralta had a single and an RBI to center field, and Wagner walks him to start the innings. Has been a struggle for the 24-year-old. Well, you wonder if all those thumb busters from Garcia had an effect on Yadier Molina. Major injury last year on the ligaments, and then this past Sunday, 6 days ago, on this throw from Hayward and a tag on Rizzo, more torn ligaments in that left thumb. And Molina, who is hopeful to return, he is confident that he can return, saying it is not as serious as last year. You have to wonder how effective he's going to be, though. As a ground ball, the shift was on, makes for an awkward play to second, but the Brewers turn it up with Moss running and a 4-6-3 double play for Wagner.
Well, that is an awkward turn, and that's always one of the weird things that we see now with the defensive shifts, is that guys are making throws from positions that they're not used to. Look where Segura is on the second base side of the bag. He's the shortstop, so he has to come in from that angle. He is not used to turning a double play like that, but he does an excellent job and delivers a perfect throw to Jonathan Lucroy.
Shortstops are rarely flat-footed when they turn double plays, but Segura, who was a second baseman in the Angels system, comfortable with that pivot. Brewers got him in a Zach Greinke deal back in 2012. Here's Wong after that beautiful play. He's good for a few highlights a week at second base. He can make the highlight reel play, no question. He's had a nice year at the plate as well. There's a jam shot, little pop up. Rivera is back in the grass, and the best inning of the night for Tyler Wagner. The rookie starting to settle in, perhaps. Cardinals up 5-0 after 3 at Busch. With MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, statcasts, radio broadcasts, and more. Not much more than that. Get the MLB.com at bat app now. Regime change in Milwaukee. David Stearns hired as the new general manager for the Milwaukee Brewers at 30 years of age. Craig Counsell hardly looks 45. Stearns hardly looks 30. But that's the new power brokership in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, after Doug Melvin was moving out of the GM job. He'll still stay on as an advisor to David Stearns, but I think for the Brewers, CJ, these are exciting times now because they've kind of hit the bottom. Their record indicates that, but they were able to make some really good, shrewd trades. They got a ton of prospects back, namely from the Astros. Stearns was heavily involved in making all of those deals, and then the Baltimore Orioles and the Pirates. And so now it's time to move forward. And now the biggest piece of the regime change is in place, the general manager.
Well, it's nice to finally get that settled, I'm sure, for the Milwaukee Brewers. And you talked about David Stearns having good familiarity with those Astros prospects that they brought over. It's an interesting time. Sometimes fans don't love this part when an organization goes through it, but this is the right time for the Milwaukee Brewers to do it. This division is very strong. It's going to become very difficult to be competitive when you think about the National League Central. So you have good young players. You develop them now. You give them opportunities. Next year, I have to imagine that we'll see a lot of these young players kind of feeling their way through the big leagues, and the Brewers will use next year to figure out what they really have and who can they count on going forward. So not a fun time as a fan, but probably a necessary time.
Braun, hot one over to third base. Nice play over there by Carpenter. And Ryan Braun is retired. Saw a shot there of Zach Davies, the extremely young-looking 22-year-old starter. So the dollar figure, the Brewers don't have a number yet for a budget. Talking to David Stearns yesterday, that's something that they'll get into. But CJ, there is a ton of money coming off the books, whether players are expiring contracts like a Kyle Loesch, or the players that they've traded away like a Ramos Ramirez and a Carlos Gomez. So there's a lot of flexibility with the Brewers payroll next season, and they feel like they have a lot of young, controllable starting pitchers. They feel really good about their outfield setup. They feel like they have a surplus at shortstop, so they're trying to make a quick flip here. I think next year is a little eager to try to get back into a pennant race. David Stearns wouldn't commit to a timetable, but the way young players are starting to dominate the game again, you just never know.
Absolutely, and you wonder about that payroll flexibility and when they're actually going to start digging in. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be very active in this market. There's some great starting pitching that's going to be out there this year, but maybe that's not what the Milwaukee Brewers want to do. Maybe they want to pace themselves and wait a little bit and continue to kind of hold back financially, let these players develop, and then when you're ready to strike, just like the Houston Astros did, and David Stearns was a part of that, then they went out and they spent some money. They put some money into their bullpen, and they made some trades at the deadline. And even the young players that they had, that equity that they used those guys and moved those players to get players like Scott Kazmir and Carlos Gomez, and exactly what the Astros did. So it's a matter of time. We'll see how much, but it's always helpful to know that you have some money coming off the books.
The biggest challenge the Brewers have, staring them down in their own division. The Cardinals, always good. 5 consecutive years now going to the postseason, all 4 in the Mike Matheny era. Pittsburgh, back for their 3rd straight trip to the postseason. They don't look like they're going anywhere. They've got a lot of great young talent, controllable talent that they've either locked up with contracts or young players. And now the Cubs have arrived, and they have some of the best rookies, and the rookie of the year, Chris Bryant, and some of the best rookies in all of baseball, and 3 major contributors as rookies, and Addison Russell and Bryant and Kyle Schwarber.
And they've gotten a really nice bump from putting Starlin Castro at second base. Ever since he basically lost his starting shortstop job to Addison Russell, he has been swinging the bat very well. And the other thing with the Cubs, of course, that you have to keep in mind is that they have resources. They have dollars, and they can continue to spend. And a lot of rumors are already starting to circulate about David Price and would he like to be reunited with Joe Madden, to already go with Jake Arrieta, and to already go with John Lester. That could be a very formidable team really over the next 5 to 8 years with the young players that they have, but also with the dollars that they have.
Now, one of the 4 that came to Milwaukee from Houston is at the plate here in Domingo Santana. This guy has shown himself very well. He's playing center field. He's not a center fielder by trade. He's a corner outfielder, prefers right field, but his bat has him in the lineup.
Craig Counsell said he's kind of different for a young power hitter. He's showing the kind of discipline that you're not used to seeing, but he still takes the big swings.
And he's down on strikes. Garcia doing his job. Cardinals are giving him a lot of run support tonight, and Garcia just mowing down. Milwaukee's working on a 2-hitter and a shutout through the first 4 innings. Oakland native Tyler Wagner's second career major league start, and it has not been pretty early, but he's coming off an 8-pitch third inning. Faced 3 batters in the third inning, and let's see if his progress will continue here. Craig Counsell hoping to squeeze a few more innings out of him. Tony Cruz, the pitcher Garcia, then back to the top of the order, Matt Carpenter coming up for the Redbirds.
Well, there's definitely some positive or potential positives here for Wagner, as you talked about, with the pitch count coming down over the last 2 innings, and maybe trying to get a couple of decent innings if he can, and really kind of salvage this outing.
Tony Cruz with a fly ball out, 1 away. Time for a game break. Maybe the MVP in the National League, Mike Hill. Bryce Harper, what do you have? Bryce Harper with 3 hits in that victory. Nationals have been a disappointment this year, but Bryce Harper has not. And his September surge is probably going to have him in the MVP.
I think he'll be at the dinner. I don't think anybody else is going to challenge him as good as Paul Goldschmidt has been, Anthony Rizzo, Andrew McCutchen. The season that Bryce Harper is having, for me, easily makes him the MVP in the National League. It does not matter at all for me that the Washington Nationals are not going to the postseason. And the thing that is so unbelievable is that kid is still only 22 years old.
It's crazy. Monster year this year, Bryce Harper. And the bigger question for the Washington Nationals will be, does Matt Williams manage the Nationals next season? They are officially eliminated today. The Mets winning behind Harvey.
It's only been 2 years for Matt Williams, but it does seem like there's some calls for that, and certainly something I think that Mike Rizzo is going to address and consider, at least see where they are with Matt Williams right now. But the conversation was also coming up about Brad Ausmus, who's also 2 years into his tenure. And the Tigers announced today that he will be back next year. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. A lot of fans wanted to put the blame on him, and there's a balance in there somewhere. I think I look at the Nationals, I see a bunch of injuries. I see Steven Strasburg not having a good first half, being hurt. Doug Fister struggling. Anthony Rendon was hurt. Jason Worthy was hurt. Ryan Zimmerman was hurt. That's not Matt Williams' fault. And you can say the same thing about what happened in Detroit. I'm not a big fan of the high turnover of managers, but I think you're right. The conversation about Matt Williams is certainly going to come up.
Wagner walking the pitcher Garcia will face Matt Carpenter with a runner at first and 1 out. Had a managerial change in Milwaukee this season. Ron Renicky relieved of his duties, and Craig Counsell taking over. Renicky has ended up as the third base coach of the Los Angeles Dodgers. Carpenter takes down and in. Carpenter has hit the ball hard twice, right on the barrel both times, but he is 0 for 2.
And those at-bats make me a little bit nervous if I'm sitting in that Milwaukee dugout right now, because you feel like it's a matter of time when he sees the ball as well as he has so far off of Tyler Wagner and squared it up the way that he has. I feel like he's just due for a base hit in this third at-bat.
Wagner's hoping to get a ground ball out of him. And it is a ground ball, and Rivera makes a nice play, a spin, and he throws it away. Everybody safe. Segura could not come up with the throw. It didn't look that bad. But Segura, who had his mind set on a double play, unable to make the catch, and the Cardinals with 2 on.
Well, Carpenter hit this ball hard right on the screws, but this is a really nice play by Rivera. He rushed to throw. You just see his knees kind of sliding out from under him as he was making that throw. Probably had more time than he realized. You have a pitcher running from first base, and that throw is in the dirt, and that's a tough pick for Segura. Now, he expects himself to make it, but certainly a tough pick right there to try to backhand that ball.
Yeah, good throw. The Brewers have a chance at a double play. Instead, 2 men on, 1 out. Here's Piscotty. This one on the ground. Segura's got it. Backhand flip to Rivera, who throws it to first for a double play. And Wagner starting to get the ground balls now. The kid maybe settling in a little bit. So a double play to end it. A double play that the Brewers could not turn, but this one was one they do turn. A beauty. 6-4-3. They go to the 5th. On in the social world, brought to you by T-Mobile. Data Strong post of the day. How about this one? Jonathan Lucroy, who is the recipient of the Bob Feller Act of Valor Award. He is very active with military charities and was on a trip with the Honor Flight Milwaukee, which is a great program taking veterans to Washington, D.C. Hashtag swing data. T-Mobile will keep the conversation going data strong all season long.
Now I say data, but do you think in that instance it should be data, because then it sounds like batter, sort of, kind of like swing data.
Well, there's two of them, so you could say data. Hernan Perez on the first pitch. He rolls to short. And the sure-handed Johnny Peralta makes a play for out number one. Brian Anderson with C.J. Nitkowski. It was a fast start for the Cardinals here tonight. A 4-run first inning. Picking on the 24-year-old rookie right-hander Tyler Wagner. And then the Cardinals added a run in the second. Holiday with RBI doubles in the first and the second. Peralta, Colton Wong, Piscotty, all having good games so far. Piscotty with 2 hits. And Jaime Garcia picking them up and putting them down. Has retired 8 straight. He's only given up 2 hits. One of those hits came from this batter, Martin Maldonado.
You see that was his 51st pitch of the game, also being extremely efficient with his pitch count. And that certainly helps when you get that lead and maybe a little bit more confidence of throwing the ball over the plate. But I even mentioned it before this game started. Excellent command from Garcia this year. Just 2.1 walks per 9 innings.
Now you figure a guy who has had 3 major surgeries like Jaime Garcia, you're getting a lot out of him this year if you're Mike Matheny. And Mike Matheny did not hesitate. He said when Garcia is right, he is an elite pitcher in this game. Getting him right, though, has been a challenge. He's had shoulder surgery, had the rotator cuff, had the torn labrum, a Tommy John surgery, the thoracic outlet surgery, which you're going to have to explain for us.
Me?
And I guess it is, layman's term, a shoulder injury. That's what he was on the disabled list the first 40 days to start the season. But the thoracic outlet procedure is a procedure we're seeing more frequently in pitchers. Chris Carpenter had that procedure done.
Well, I definitely would like to stay in my lane, Brian. I left college after 3 years to go play baseball. I pretty much majored in baseball my last year that I was at St. John. So I leave that one to the experts. But really unbelievable to think about the adversity that Garcia has faced. 8 trips to the DL over the course of his career, and it's not as easy as people think, even though he's got the contract. The Cardinals gave him a 4-year, $27 million deal to start the 2012 season. But going through those injuries, all the rehab, it can wear you out as a player. And Garcia has to be thrilled with where he is right now and how well he's throwing the ball.
Well, he picks up another strikeout. It's the 4th for Garcia.
Not common to be able to freeze a right-handed hitter on a changeup like that, especially one that finished out over the plate. But that just tells you about the deception and how hard it is to pick up that pitch from Garcia.
Garcia is making his 19th start of the season tonight. If he gets to 20, it'll be the first time since 2012.
And I mentioned the contract, and you have to figure he has a team option next year at $11.5 million. I would assume that's an automatic with the way that he's throwing.
Sure.
And there's another option on the back end of that as well for 2017 at $12 million.
Deals a strike to Rivera. Because he's left-handed, depending on who the Cardinals match up in the postseason, then that's an interesting debate. Would you rather face the Pirates or the Cubs? If you're the Cardinals, would you rather Garcia face the Cubs with their big left-handed hitter in Anthony Rizzo, who hits lefties well, by the way, or the Pirates to try to neutralize their left-handed lineup?
Well, I think not only that does a guy like Anthony Rizzo hit lefties well, but Jaime Garcia does not have your traditional splits like you're used to seeing. A .247 batting average against left-handed hitters this year coming into this game. .212 against righties, and that's because of that great changeup that he has, and that helps him neutralize those right-handed hitters. He does not have the big breaking ball that necessarily can make it very tough on those left-handed hitters.
1-2 pitch and a fastball missing high on the young infielder Yadiel Rivera. Getting a start at second base tonight. Brewers typically go with Scooter Gennett at second, but a left-hander on the mound tonight. Gennett, a left-handed hitter. Rivera just collected his first major league hit at Wrigley Field earlier in the week.
I think when
his second plate appearance in the big leagues.
Sorry about that, Brian. When you talk about splits too, I think it's important because a lot of times we just say, well, this guy is hitting this against lefties, and this pitcher does this against lefties. A lot of times it matters what kind of pitcher that guy actually is.
And it's a strikeout for Garcia. 5 punch-outs, a 3-up, 3-down 5th inning. The AL Wild Card on ESPN. October 7th is the NL Wild Card. It's on TBS. And then October 8th, it's Game 1 of both American League Division Series, only on FS1, streaming live on Fox Sports Go as well. Postseason baseball is coming up. 8 games remaining for the Cardinals and the Brewers. New pitcher here, CJ. Left-hander Cesar Jimenez in for the rookie Tyler Wagner.
You see the 17 games pitch and another kind of soft tossing lefty who's going to rely heavily on that changeup, and he's got his hands full right now as he comes through the middle of this order, leading it off with Matt Holliday.
Matt Holliday's had a good night tonight. 2 doubles, 2 runs batted in. He has smoked the ball twice with exit speeds over 100 miles an hour on both occasions. The first double was in the gap in left center. His RBI double in the second inning came with 2 outs and a 3-2 count. First multi-hit game since July 21st for Matt Holliday. It's been a while. First time he's had multiple extra base hits in a game since late April. April 30th.
Like I said earlier, this is good news as we see good at-bats from Matt Holliday. We see the power. We see him striking the ball well. For the St. Louis Cardinals, they have nice options where they can move guys around a little bit. Matt Holliday, you pretty much only want him in left field, but as far as Piscotty goes, as far as Brandon Moss goes, Randall Grichuk, some guys that you can move to different parts of the outfield. That's why we're seeing Jason Hayward in center field tonight. And if Matt Holliday can show that he can swing the bat and that he is healthy, he will be that fixture in left field, and it's the other guys that'll be moving around.
Well, Piscotty tonight with 2 hits, just bounced into a double play his last time up. Grichuk coming back from that elbow injury, and he's been back in the outfield rotation recently for Matheny. Jimenez delivers. Holliday rolls over one, foul.
You see Maldonado right there asking for that ball to be below the zone, down in the dirt, giving that really good target to Jimenez. And Jimenez does a nice job of executing that pitch ahead in the count. You don't need to throw a strike to Matt Holliday, knowing he's going to have that 2-strike swing. Holliday does a really good job of fouling that ball off.
Holliday's going to end up with around 75 games played or so this year, with 8 games remaining. And Holliday just trying to get his big league eyes back together, right? If you're not seeing major league pitching, and he was out from July 29th to September 17th. But this is just his 3rd start since coming back. And on an every other day rotation for Mike Matheny. You start to look at the composition of the postseason roster for the Cardinals. It gets interesting as well. Can you count on Holliday? Are you going to be able to count on Matt Adams, who's back? Major quad injury for Adams. High fly ball left field. And Davis coming in. Jimenez retires Matt Holliday. 1 away. Today's game brought to you by Chevrolet, the official vehicle of Major League Baseball. St. Louis, Busch Stadium, version 3. And the Brewers and the Cardinals, 5-0 St. Louis after a 4-run first. It's a beautiful night here. And the Cardinals have been playing well. They've split this series thus far. It's a 4-gamer. Cardinals won the opener on Thursday. Brewers won last night on a 9th-inning home run by Chris Davis. That was off Rosenthal. Cardinals need a win to remain 3 games up on the Pirates, who shut out the Cubs today. Talked a lot about St. Louis's injuries, those that have not been here, those who are coming back, and Matheny knows he's got a major weapon close to returning in Adam Wainwright as well.
Well, Adam Wainwright threw a simulated game today. They get him out there facing some hitters, and Mike Matheny is not a guy that shows a lot of emotion, a lot of excitement, but I don't know if you'd agree, B.A., but watching him in that meeting today, he seemed pretty excited about where Wainwright was right now, how crisp his stuff was, and what the next step is going to be now, as they're going to wait and see how he feels tomorrow, what the doctors say about that Achilles, and what kind of shape he might be in. And one of the next steps could be for him to get into a big league game.
They'll pop up into foul territory. That's a long run with a shift on, and Perez can't get there. That'll end up in the seats, bouncing through the Brewers dugout.
And John Mozeliak had said already that Adam Wainwright will only be considered as a reliever. And some people want to speculate now, of course, that you see Carlos Martinez going down. Could Adam Wainwright start? As far as everything we've heard, that's not even something that's going to be considered. There's just not enough time to build up the endurance. The risk versus reward is just not there for Adam Wainwright and the Cardinals.
Now Martinez, that news delivered today to the public after leaving the game yesterday. Only 7 pitches, shut down the rest of the year. No surgery, but a shoulder injury, and so he's done. If you're just picking up our broadcast. And so best case scenario for the Cardinals, you lose a potential postseason starter and you add a reliever to the mix. That certainly elevates the stretch run for guys like Michael Wacha and Lance Lynn.
Well, it becomes important. There's no getting around the fact that Carlos Martinez was a big part of this rotation, and now they have lost that, and trying to figure out how are they going to replace those innings depending on where they thought he was going to slot into the postseason, whether that meant he was going to go into the bullpen, and then maybe you can say, okay, well, that's a simple exchange, Adam Wainwright for Carlos Martinez.
Slow roller, got to hurry this one up. Rivera fires to first in time to get Hayward, who runs well. So Adam Wainwright, his day today. Mike Matheny very encouraged by what he sees. Tomorrow will be a big day to see how he recovers, but he went through all of his steps today and a full warm-up in the bullpen and then a simulated game, and I think this is most important here, how he's going to be able to field his position with that repaired Achilles tendon.
100%, and that's what matters. You know, obviously his arm needs to be strong, it needs to feel good, as we see that really good breaking ball from Adam Wainwright that we are so used to seeing in that Cardinal uniform. But can he field his position? Can he change direction Can he get over to first base at full speed and get the necessary outs when it's his job to cover first base, or when he has to field the bunt? All of those things go into this, but so far so good, at least as of today, for Mike Matheny.
Cardinals fans have a great memory of his last pitch thrown out of the bullpen. That was in relief, Game 5 of the '06 World Series. He struck out Brandon Inge to win the World Series. So yeah, there's a good memory there with Wainwright in the bullpen.
I think it's important that he's done it before, because starters going into the bullpen is not always an easy transition. But the fact that Adam Wainwright has already been there and done that, I think, makes the idea of him going into the bullpen for the postseason a lot easier to digest.
Jimenez with 2 outs. Johnny Peralta at the plate. All-star shortstop for the Cardinals, driving in a run with a hit in the first inning. He walked his last time up. Ouch. Foul ball off of Maldonado. Well, the Brewers are already down their starting catcher, Jonathan Lucroy, who took a foul ball right off the mask a couple of weeks ago. That one hit the shoulder of Maldonado, the throwing shoulder.
And as you watch that replay, young baseball players at home, and your coach says, "Do you want to try catching?"
You say absolutely, sir.
Always be no. Unless you can't hit. If you can't hit, then go ahead and learn how to catch.
The tools of brilliance, CJ. Come on. You sound like a pitcher. And a left-handed pitcher at that. Mike Matheny actually spoke with Jonathan Lucroy after Lucroy sustained that concussion. Really helped him out. Matheny's a former Brewer. He is incredibly sympathetic towards where baseball and all sports are going with concussion protocol, and Lucroy reached out to Matheny. Matheny directed him to one of the leading concussion specialists in Pittsburgh. The Brewers happened to be in Pittsburgh at the time, at the University of Pittsburgh, and so Lucroy did not hesitate. He immediately went to that clinic, which is one of the great concussion treatment centers in the world, and all on the recommendation of Mike Matheny, and made sure he told Lucroy to take your time. Whether you're in a pennant race or not, take your time. There's a swing and a miss, and a 3-up, 3-down inning as Jimenez strikes out Peralta, picks up a strikeout on his way out. Brewers Cardinals tonight on FS1. St. Louis, best record of the big leagues, up 5-0. Quality on MLB.TV Premium. You can watch every out-of-market game live on more than 400 supported devices. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and plenty more. Visit MLB.TV today. Well, she's brand new. First time in a ball game.
Oh, wow.
Just arriving to the world. And just arriving to the big leagues is the man coming up. Michael Reed, his major league debut. First at bat. He's been with the ball club since Tuesday. One of the 6 players called up from AA Biloxi, and his first at bat is going to come against Jaime Garcia.
What a great opportunity at 22 years old. The first time to step in the box and to do it here in St. Louis against a pretty good pitcher. And just like we talked about with Wagner, even for the hitters on the outside, they may look calm, but the heart is pounding 100 miles an hour right now and trying to stay within yourself and stay with your game plan and ultimately what got you here to the big leagues.
Reed, born in Minnesota, he was raised in Central Texas in the Austin area, a town called Cedar Park. And he is trying to fight those nerves, a cleansing breath.
Did a good job this year in on-base percentage at .371 between AA and AAA. Hit .269.
And that's going to fall for a base hit. Michael Reed on his way to second base. And his first big league at bat results in a double. Welcome to the show, young man. Boy, that is a memory he will never forget. And these St. Louis Cardinal fans acknowledging his first big league hit. They'll save the baseball. And a memory to last a lifetime. Michael Reed is on the board.
He's going to tell the story about how he laid off the 1-1 changeup. That was a really good pitch, and then got a pitch that he could handle and smoked it down the line. And like I said, on the outside, he looks like he's been there and done that before, but on the inside, a lot of excitement for Michael Reed.
Well, that snaps a string of 10 in a row retired by Garcia. And a major league first. Got a runner at second base, top of the order now, in Gene Segura. Cardinals have made a defensive change. And Segura on the ground to short. They'll get a runner to third. Peralta makes the play. Just does get Segura. We got a college football update. A crazy finish. Let's catch up with a game break here. Man, what a ball game. What a finish in Lubbock. Josh Doxson with 3 TDs today, and TCU will maintain their lofty place in the top 5 in the country. Trevon Boykin, maybe a Heisman Trophy this year. We shall see. Great day of sports today all across the landscape. Here's Lucroy now. And the Brewers with a chance to score for the first time. It's the first time they've had a runner in scoring position. And a runner at third base with one away. Lucroy has a hit. He's 1 for 2.
And the Cardinals willing to concede the run as they have the infield back all the way around. Not even the corners are in. They'll gladly exchanging out for a run.
And it's a base hit. Lucroy in the left field. Michael Reed comes in to score. And the Brewers are on the board. So an RBI single by Lucroy has 2 more hits here tonight. So Michael Reed, he'll get plenty of high fives and handshakes in that dugout. His first base hit in the big leagues, and he scores his first run.
You see Jonathan Lucroy hit this ball hard, but hit it perfectly right in the hole. Picking up the RBI. You see Reed right there, good secondary, make sure that it gets through. Finally cracks a smile when he gets to the dugout. It was all business until his teammates started making a big deal about that first hit and that first run scored.
Wait till he gets a look at his phone, right? It'll be thousands of text messages coming from Central Texas. So here is Ryan Braun now with Lucroy at first base. Braun's been dealing with back tightness. First start in 8 days. Ryan is 0 for 2. Had a strikeout in the first inning, a ground out in the 4th inning. By the way, we meant to tell you, but all this early action here, that Mark Reynolds is in the game at third base for Matt Carpenter. So that's the defensive change. And I'll be interested to find out this move. This is not a typical move here for Mike Matheny. So wondering if Matt Carpenter is out with illness or injury, or if it's just a change, a defensive maneuver here for Matheny. We shall see. No report yet from the Cardinal clubhouse.
It certainly doesn't feel like would be the regular defensive move. Not at this part in the game. Not only in the top of the 6th inning. So kind of stay tuned and see what we hear.
The former TCU Horned Frog, Matt Carpenter, is out. It's always a premium on infield defense when Garcia is on the mound, and his ground ball numbers have even spiked this season compared to seasons past. His strikeouts are down, but his ground balls are up. 63% ground ball rate right now. That is very good.
And I think you'll take that exchange, because ultimately what that does is that puts you in the situation where we see Garcia right now, where you're not throwing nearly as many pitches. He's not going to walk hitters. Maybe he's not getting as many strikeouts, but he's getting those ground balls and trying to get them. The old adage goes within the first 3 pitches of an at bat, and that's going to help you keep that pitch count down. As we see there, the worst inning he's had so far was the first, when he threw 15, but really nice consistency there throughout this game so far.
Pitch number 73. Braun gets jammed, and a pop-up out to second base. Out in the grass is Wong, and the second out.
That was an obvious plan right there by Garcia that we saw consistently. We saw it on the first pitch where he threw that cutter up and in, and he decided that he was going to stay in on Ryan Braun and not allow him to get his arms extended, and he did a really nice job of executing that game plan and getting that pop-up.
So here is Chris Davis. In Garcia's last start against Milwaukee, he was cruising along the first 3 innings and then let his guard down a bit. The Brewers put a quick 4 runs on the board that changed the game. And I'm sure Garcia knows better than anybody the quick strike ability of Chris Davis, who has been the best home run hitter, not just for the Brewers during this stretch, but since that August 6th date, he's been the most prolific home run hitter in the game. Has a better home run ratio than even guys like Encarnacion and Donaldson. We look at the numbers for Davis. So he didn't play much. He had an injury earlier in the season and then lost his starting job to Gerardo Parra. Home run every about 30 at bats. So since he's come back and started to play regularly, a home run every 9.1 at bats. That is a big number.
Well, you won't find a position player in baseball that won't tell you that it is much easier, or will tell you that it's much easier to produce when you're in the lineup regularly, and whether that means you're platooning with someone or you lost your job to somebody else trying to get back on track. You need to be out there 5-6 times a week, seeing pitching, live pitching at this level every single day. And Chris Davis right now proving that he is the man for the job, that he belongs out in this lineup regularly for this team.
1 ball, 2 strikes to count. Garcia delivers, and a swing and a miss. He struck him out to end the inning. Jaime Garcia with 6 strikeouts. He does give up a run. And welcome to the big leagues, Michael Reed, Leander, Texas. He's on the board with a double and a run scored. Lead as we head to the bottom of the 6th inning. Jonathan Barrios will enter the game. Colombian-born, 23-year-old power right-hander. The Brewers acquired him in the Aramis Ramirez deal in mid-July with the Pittsburgh Pirates, a converted infielder, and will be his second appearance.
Pretty unbelievable fastball that you're going to see from Barrios, who was one of 3 rookies, if I got my count right, in this Milwaukee Brewer bullpen. But that fastball averages around 97 miles an hour.
So Barrios facing Brandon Moss to start it, and his first bullet, 95 miles an hour. Moss walked in the first inning, bounced into a double play. And if you're just picking us up, Tyler Wagner for the Brewers made just his second major league start. Cardinals punished him early. 4 runs in the first, added 1 in the second. Wagner did settle down and got through 4 innings. Cesar Jimenez worked a 3-up, 3-down 5th inning. And now it is Jonathan Barrios.
And if you're a minor league infielder who can't hit, Barrios, a .232 career hitter, but if you have a good arm, this is the next logical step, is to see if you can pitch. And we saw those good fastballs early on.
Moss with a little jam shot foul.
Perhaps Barrios could be that next guy that converts from position player to pitcher.
Well, we're getting a good look at the Biloxi Shuckers tonight on FS1 with Wagner and Michael Reed and Jonathan Barrios and their second baseman tonight, Yadiel Rivera. Brewers are very positive about their future. They've been able to bolster their minor league system. They got some big arms down there. Their AA team, you might remember the story, the AA Biloxi Shuckers. They were the team that started with a 54-game road trip while their stadium was being built.
That is about as worse as a nightmare as I can think of. Listen, playing in the minor leagues is not very glorious. It certainly has gotten better over the years. A lot of new nice stadiums. Obviously, that was the situation in Biloxi, but minor league road trips are not all that great. The bus rides, the early flights, if you're in AAA, depending on where you are. I could not imagine doing that for the first 54 games of the season.
And they ended up being one of the better teams in all of minor league baseball as Moss strikes out. Good start for Jonathan Barrios. It is time for a game summary sponsored by Budweiser. Tyler Wagner, 4 innings, 5 earned runs in his second big league start. Michael Reed just had his first big league hit in his first at bat. It was a double, scored a run. Garcia has been the story after the early offense. Garcia with 6 innings and 1 run has not walked a batter, and the Cardinals looking for win number 98 here tonight, and to keep 3 games up on the Buccos in Pittsburgh. As Wong grounds out, 2 up, 2 down. Now to bring up Tony Cruz with 2 away. These 2 teams will wrap up their series tomorrow. Day game tomorrow here at Busch. And then the Cardinals are headed on the road, a key road trip to finish the season, and a key series coming up against the Pittsburgh Pirates. And they'll finish in Atlanta.
One of the things we haven't talked about with Tony Cruz is basically the adjustment from Molina to Cruz now for this pitching staff. And Mike Matheny had told us that essentially Cruz has been on a 5-year apprenticeship studying under Yadier Molina. Those guys were very close. He said they're different personalities, but they work well together. They have a good relationship there. Molina and Cruz are able to bounce things off of each other, and really Cruz has developed into a very good defensive catcher under the tutelage of Yadier Molina. Very similar, I guess you could say, to how Molina had that opportunity under Mike Matheny, and you just kind of pay it forward. And he believes that that transition will be seamless. Now, of course, Molina is going to be missed, right? I mean, there's no replacing him. But at the same time, having a guy like Cruz that this pitching staff is already comfortable with, that is somewhat similar to what they already had in Molina, certainly is probably your best case scenario.
Well, I don't blame Mike Matheny for saying that, and he certainly wants to build up Tony Cruz, but there is no replacing Yadier Molina. And that thumb injury has knocked him out And he is confident he will return, but what kind of player, specifically what kind of batter will he be when he comes back? That's a base hit. Tony Cruz just inside the line. He's thinking about two. He's on his way. Braun's throw to second is off the mark. And Tony Cruz with a double gets into the act for the Cardinals.
Well, this is a really nice swing by Cruz as he takes the ball the other way down the line, but a very aggressive move on the base paths. I thought for sure he was going to pull up and take a single, especially with Garcia coming up. You don't want to get thrown out at second base and having your pitcher lead off the next inning, but he saw something that he liked and he decided to put the pressure on Ryan Braun and force him to make a perfect throw, and he was unable to do so. If that throw's on the mark, there's a good chance that Cruz is going to be out at second base. But the throw was off the line, offline, and Segura unable to handle it. So an aggressive play by Cruz that works out in his favor.
And for the Cardinals, that is their first hit since the second inning, since Holiday's RBI double with 2 outs. And with 2 outs, they threaten here with a pitcher, Garcia, at the plate, who has walked tonight.
We have those rules, those base running rules in baseball, right? Don't make the first or the third out at third base. Well, you don't get thrown out trying to take an extra base with 2 outs, especially when you have the pitcher on deck.
Jaime Garcia trying to add to the lead. A 103 hitter this year, Garcia. I like that last swing he had. It's like, oh man, that was in my wheelhouse.
And even that 0-2 pitch that he laid off like a champ. Watched it go into the catcher's glove. Looked like he saw it the whole way.
I'm on you. I'm on you, Jonathan Barrios.
It looks the part. I mean, right there, it looks pretty good.
You have to look the part. I mean, that's half the battle. He's got the big leg kick going. He's got the brand new white batting gloves. I mean, he looks really good.
The barely used once in a while batting gloves.
And the barely used bat.
those marks that you see on the barrel, those are, of course, from batting practice, as they are for most pitchers.
Those blue marks are the Rob Manfred signature.
He would be quick to tell you about his 2012 home run, though. I'm sure if you asked him. That was the year when he hit 250 in 40 at-bats. But he is a career 145 hitter with a very low 177 on-base percentage.
I believe my memory of that, at least my memory in my left ear, was against the Brewers, that home run. And they have video proof of it.
A moment you never forget. Looking at him with the big eyes into the second deck.
Wow. August 2nd, 2011. That was a World Series year for the St. Louis Cardinals. That was a division title for the Brewers that season. Mike Helling producing, everyone. And there's a swing and a miss. Garcia strikes out. And the inning is over. So a good showing there by Barrios. Cardinals get a hit from their catcher. It is 5-1 St. Louis. We go to the 7th inning. Well, we lost to one of the greats in the history of baseball, not just in the baseball world, but the sports world. Great American that he was. Yogi Berra, a St. Louis original. Passed away at age 90 earlier this week. Share your favorite baseball memories using hashtag MLB Memory Bank. And yeah, a lot of support, a lot of cards and flowers. Not too far from here on the Hill in St. Louis. Great Italian community. And that's a neighborhood that produced Joe Garagiola and Yogi Berra. Jack Buck lived over in that neighborhood when he was broadcasting games here. And we are going to miss Yogi Berra.
And the Hill, of course, produced one of Yogi's greatest lines about a restaurant that was kind of not an underground, but a place that too few people knew about. And then ultimately he said, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
As silly as it sounds, it actually makes sense, as a lot of the Yogi-isms did.
Back at it here. Santana starts it, and Garcia gets him to swing at the first pitch. And Mark Reynolds makes the play. So Reynolds came in for Matt Carpenter last inning. Carpenter is out with left hip tightness, precautionary reasons. More stuff on Yogi Berra. He deserves it all, and all of his great comedy, and as funny as he was, and the great quotes. He was a great player, right? 3-time American League MVP. Maybe the best catcher ever when you consider all the titles, the 10 World Series title as a player, and a St. Louis legend. Branch Rickey didn't think he'd be much more than a minor league catcher, unfortunately, who ran the St. Louis Cardinals at the time and developed what is now the modern farm system. He didn't see much in the diminutive Yogi Berra, so the Yankees snatched him up. There's a nice running catch. Jason Hayward takes a hit away from Hernan Perez, and a couple of hard hit balls resulting in outs, and Jaime Garcia has 2 away in the 7th inning.
Well, we've only seen Jason Hayward now have 2 attempts out in center field. You talked about it, his 5th start of the season, but the flexibility that Mike Matheny would like to have to be able to move his outfielders around, and Jason Hayward looking like he's covering some good ground in center field on that play.
Now, what do you do in center field if you're Mike Matheny? John Jay does not look like he's going to be able to come back all the way. He's been playing, he's been hitting, but he's been out with that wrist injury. Doesn't look like the same player. You got Pham, who has been a lightning rod here, and he had a great series against Milwaukee a couple of weeks ago and has performed very well. But Pham had a 4 strikeout game here on Thursday night. So the safe play is probably what you're looking at right now with Holiday and Hayward and Piscotty. You know, Piscotty's got to play somewhere.
For Mike Matheny,
at first base.
For Mike Matheny, it's not going to be, these trying guys out and feeling what he can do. They need to win baseball games, and he understands that with the Pirates and how well they're playing and trying to catch the Cardinals, who are currently in first place by 2.5 games.
Hayward will get a chance to track another one down, but he's going to watch that one over his head. Maldonado rips one to center field, and it is a stand-up double for the backup catcher of the Brewers, his 2nd hit of the night against Garcia.
And just to finish that thought, as they're trying to stay competitive, trying to continue to win baseball games, you'll somewhat play matchups, or you might try a guy in a different outfield spot, but they have to think about putting the best lineup out there first and then making the defense work, and I think that'll be Mike Matheny's approach.
That is the 5th Milwaukee hit. As you look at the Geico in-game box score, Lucroy and Maldonado, the 2 regular catchers for the Brewers. Lucroy now at first base. And that pinch hit by Reed, his first major league hit, which was a double. Yadiel Rivera now with a runner at 2nd. This game's not out of reach for Milwaukee. Down by 4 in the 7th inning. Garcia at the bottom of this Brewers order. Garcia has been in the easy chair most of the night tonight. Gave up a run in the 6th inning. As Rivera is late, and he fouls one to right. Back in the seats. 0-2 the count on Rivera, native of Puerto Rico.
think when you see that fastball like we just saw, and also what I talked about with Ryan Braun, and an 89 to 90 mile an hour fastball getting in on the hands of right-handed hitters, they take those kind of swings and look up at the radar gun. They say, how is that possible? How is that ball getting on me? But it's about the deception. It's about the late movement and the late life on that Garcia fastball.
And a wave and a miss. Pulled the string on him. Down he goes. Rivera strikes out. Strikeout number 7 for Jaime Garcia. He's pitching a gem tonight. Cardinals trying to stay 3 up on the Pirates. They have the lead. Geico in-game box score for the Redbirds. They have 7 hits tonight. 6 of those hits came in the first 12 plate appearances. Matt Holliday with 2 RBIs on 2 doubles. Colton Wong drove in a pair as well. Cardinals scored 4 runs in the first, added 1 in the second. And Jaime Garcia has handled the rest. He's working on 7 innings, 1 run. 7 strikeouts for Jaime Garcia. Has not walked a batter. Here's Mark Reynolds leading off in there for Matt Carpenter. And if you're just picking us up, Carpenter left with hip tightness. Just taken out for precautionary reasons. Left hip tightness for Carpenter.
So Mark Reynolds could be a guy that could play a pretty important role in the postseason. You can put him at third base, you can put him at first, but also in a pinch hitting role, and you know about the power that he has. Strikes out a lot, it's part of his game. But this is a guy that I think is a really important piece to this bench, as good as the Cardinals offense is, and especially now maybe with Matt Carpenter dealing with a little bit of a hip issue. You have a nice veteran guy who's been there and done that, who can slide right in and replace Matt Carpenter.
Reynolds played for the Brewers last year. Signed as a free agent by the Cardinals this offseason. Had a 22 homer season last year with Milwaukee, and a little half swing. He goes, unable to check it. That is a strikeout. And Jonathan Barrios is making an impression here tonight. Well, CJ, the wait is finally over. 2 legendary heavyweights meet for the first time. Josh Barnett against Roy Nelson. And then the biggest challenge yet for Uriah Hall. He'll be taking on Gegard Mousasi. That's UFC Fight Night. It is after our game, and it is only on FS1. Stephen Piscotty takes a strike. Piscotty with 2 hits in his first 2 tries. Infield hit in the first, and then he had a double into left center in the second inning. There's There's a lot of ball marks on the sweet spot of that bat. Piscotty has found his stroke here for the Cardinals.
It's a good-looking changeup, and you mentioned Barrios being impressive tonight. It's hard to believe that this is only his 3rd season as a pitcher. He played at 4 different levels this year. AA with the Pirates, AAA with the Pirates, and AA, of course, here with the Brewers, and now in the big leagues. But just in a matter of 2 years to get to the big leagues with this kind of stuff and show pitchability. 3 strikeouts already in an inning and a third. And I'm sure for the Brewers, he still kind of has the infielder's glove, but I'm sure for the Brewers, they have to be pretty excited about what they have seen so far.
No, and that's the landscape right now. You're the Pittsburgh Pirates. You're sitting there. Your 25-man roster in the big leagues, and then your 40-man roster is a premium right now as you're in a pennant race. And they needed a third baseman, so they acquired Aramis Ramirez, a former Pirate, and gave up Barrios. And a called strike 3. Barrios rings the bell on the corner. So the 3rd strikeout for Jonathan Barrios. Here comes Holiday. Non-stop action and heart-pounding excitement. Historic performances. They all make up the 2015 postseason, and it all begins October 6th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full schedule. It is coming fast. Season wraps up October 4th. There is room for tiebreakers if need be. And then the wild card 1-game play-in games. Those are thrilling. Started in 2012. Matter of fact, the Cardinals played in the first wild card play-in game in the National League.
I think there was a lot of people that wondered if the wild card games, the play-in games, they have to be organic. But the wild card, the way it is set up, I think it's been an absolute hit with fans. There's a lot of people, of course, that would love to see the tie going into the last day of the season, or even a tie after the last day of the season, and seeing some of those playoffs. But the winner go home is an absolute success in Major League Baseball.
Holiday lines out to end the inning. 2 impressive innings by the rookie Barrios. We're back in St. Louis. We head to the 8th. 5-1 Redbirds. House all lit up downtown St. Louis, and here at Busch Stadium it is the Cardinals and the Brewers 5-1. CJ Nitkowski's DraftKings players to watch. You've been right on the money with Stephen Piscotty. Chris Davis is 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts.
Well, remember, you just brought it up. Ranch Rickey also thought that Yogi Berra was not going to be a major league player. So everybody misses. Even the great minds of the game sometimes don't get them all right.
Right. And you said all that, and now you see John Jay, and I have to tell you that you need to enter promo code BALLGAME to play for free at DraftKings.com. There are thousands of dollars in prizes every day, CJ. Jason Rogers leading off. A pinch hit appearance and a base hit to center field. Well, this guy has really swung the bat well for the Brewers. He looks like he is going to become part of the program next season for Milwaukee. He is a hitter.
Well, there was one of those fastballs that sometimes cuts back over the plate, and he hit it in the ground, but he did a good job of keeping that ball up the middle and getting it through the infield.
When I think about the great evaluators and the impact executives in the game, I do think C.J. Nitkowski along with Branch Rickey.
I mean, synonymous.
I mean, it does work together really well. Gene Segura batting for Milwaukee, back at the top of the order. Garcia's been able to keep the Brewers down. He did give up a run in the 6th inning. RBI single by Jonathan Lucroy. And the only blemish on his line tonight, 7 punch-outs for Garcia. He has given Milwaukee fits all year. This is his 4th start. His ERA is moving towards 2.0. Yeah, get him while you can. They're going fast. Cardinal gear.
There's no shortage of Cardinal gear. You can see it around, not just in the stadium, but out of the stadium as well. One of the best supported teams in Major League Baseball.
She's got to turn around. That was her time. Her 15 seconds are up. Well, it is a familiar venue for postseason baseball. One ball, one strike. And Segura swinging at a miss.
The movement on that fastball is unbelievable, especially when you're trying to go inside to a righty. That's always the danger. A lot of times lefties are going to use a 4-seam fastball, but this is a 2-seamer, as you can tell by the run. But that's great late life and movement on that pitch, and tough for Segura to get to.
Missed his spot by the entire width of the plate, but that's the thing about Garcia. It's those subtle movements, and he's not even real sure which way it's going to go. Is there going to be run or sink on it? Or is it going to cut? There's a ground ball. Right on the bag at second. Wong gloves it and fires it in time. A double play. Well, he's made a couple of sparkling plays here tonight. 2 outs, 1 swing of the bat. And it's time for a game break. We check in with Mike. All right, Mike, thanks. Congratulations to the Royals. Their first division title in a long, long time. First time they've ever won the current division, the American League Central. And Kansas City, the first to clinch a division title, but they've got high expectations there. And you start looking at the Cardinals and the Royals, you could see that that potential show me World Series once again, right?
It's possible. I mean, the Kansas City Royals are a deep team, but like so many of these teams that are headed to the postseason, they do have their questions. Greg Holland is not going to pitch their closer for the rest of the year. Now, they have a very deep bullpen, probably the deepest in Major League Baseball, and so Wade Davis will now become their closer. They'd like to see Johnny Cueto be a little bit more consistent. He's been good in his last couple of starts. Yordano Ventura as well, a guy that they probably thought was going to be their ace at the beginning of the season, has been kind of up and down. So it's a very good Kansas City team. They play tremendous defense, solid lineup. They absolutely are capable of making another run. They went all the way to Game 7 of the World Series last year, and there's no reason to believe why they can't do that again.
Well, and I think every Royals fan will tell you it was a lot more fun last year because the expectations are so high, and it's tough to go back. I think it's, you know, in the minds of the Royals with their kind of team and this runaway division winner that they are, it's World Series or bust for them this year. Anything other than that's going to be a disappointment for Kansas City. I don't think baseball folks feel that way, but it does bring to light the impressive history of the St. Louis Cardinals and how they are there seemingly every single year. 5 straight postseason appearances for the Cardinals. And the clinch can happen for the Blue Jays with a magic number of 5. The Dodgers are the next closest. Hard to believe the Cardinals have the best record, and yet their clinch number is the highest at 6.
They're the furthest away despite having the most wins in the game. It almost doesn't make sense.
Lucroy in the right center field, a base hit. Oh, Jonathan Lucroy with his 3rd hit of the night. That batting average continues to rise, pushing near 270. He's raised his batting average about 35 points in a little over a month.
Well, that looked like a breaking ball. Garcia certainly would have liked to have further down in the zone, but he leaves it hanging up, and a good job by Lucroy to take that ball to right field.
So here is Ryan Braun. Braun has returned to an elite level as a hitter this year after the thumb injury last season. 25 home runs this season. Got over 20 stolen bases as well, but he struggled against the Cardinals this year. He's hitting just 140 against St. Louis, and just 1 run batted in his season against the Cardinals, and that covers 50 at bats. That's a pretty good sample size, and only 1 RBI. So Braun swings and misses. 0-2 the count.
And good cut on that fastball down and in that Ryan Braun swung right over. That ball is a strike almost the entire way. And you think about Ryan Braun hitting .328 against lefties this year, but really struggling over his career against Jaime Garcia.
He's got him in the hole. 0-2. Brewers have a runner at first. And a swing and a miss. Garcia might be his last hitter. We'll see. He finishes with a bang. If so, 8 punch-outs. 1 run across 8 innings. Was a lone run for the Brewers, scored by Michael Reed in his major league debut. The Cardinals with a 4-run first, added 1 in the second, and Jaime Garcia on his A game tonight. 5-1 St. Louis, bottom of the 8th inning, and we are approaching a major league record for major league debuts here tonight. We have one in front of us. Hard throwing right-hander Adrian Hauser is on the mound. His first day in the big leagues, his first game, makes his debut against Jason Hayward. Big, strong right-hander, 22 years of age, out of Oklahoma. And one of the 4 the Brewers acquired from the Houston Astros in the Carlos Gomez, Mike Fiers trade.
Good looking fastball there from Hauser. Not easy to come in. The first guy you face is Jason Hayward, who has swung the bat well. Has been really good against right-handers this year, hitting .297. But I like so far what I've seen from Hauser. Good fastball, good movement down and away.
1-2 pitch, and he misses with a fastball. Hauser is a starting pitcher. The Brewers are very high on him. He was one of the key pieces in that deal. And maybe the best prospect in that deal is not here. A broken bat. Hayward right back to the mound. Good play by Hauser, and a shattered bat for Hayward. His gamer is gone.
We use the phrase sometimes with guys that have a heavy fastball. That sounded like it was a heavy 2-seam fastball as we see the delivery here. And that little bit of a flinch when you hear that bat crack and you're not quite sure where the barrel is, but Hauser does a good job of picking up the ball and having good composure. But Jason Hayward caught that off the end. We use the phrase sometimes we say to describe it that it comes in like a bowling ball, just really heavy, and that's what that sinker looked like.
Good job by Greg to clean all that mess up. There's Johnny Peralta now. The Brewers acquiring those 4 players from Houston, all of them were top 21 prospects in the Astros organization. And maybe the best, well, the best prospect, maybe the best player of the bunch is not here yet. Brett Phillips is his name, a center fielder. And he was the one that the Brewers were most anxious in getting, and it ended up being a nice deal. That's back to the mound, and Hauser knocks it down, makes a play.
Well, he's got a chance here now to tie the major league record.
See where it got him. Lucroy's over there to check on him. I'm pretty sure Jonathan Lucroy thought there were 3 outs, but he made a very nice save by taking a banana route to check on his pitcher.
Well, that's a great replay. If you happen to be watching Jonathan Lucroy from that angle, as Hauser was getting ready to pitch, he looked like he was looking over at shortstop or third base in kind of a late reaction. So maybe he did not know how many outs.
That's what I meant to do. I meant to check on the pitcher. He's fine.
Played it off well.
So 2 outs. Shift is on for Brandon Moss. Hauser coming off a gem in his last minor league game to a complete game shutout in the Southern League playoffs, and that one ripped into right center. Moss with a base hit. Cardinals haven't done much since the second inning. They did enough in the first 2 innings, especially the way Garcia has pitched tonight, but that is only their second hit since Holiday's RBI double in the second inning. Cardinals had 6 hits in their first 12 plate appearances. And the Brewer bullpen has been able to keep them relatively quiet. We're going to have a pinch runner over at first base, so Moss will come out after that 2-out hit, and Pete Kozma will run for the Redbirds. Here's Colton Wong. Wong's got a nice little highlight package going tonight himself. He drove in 2 with a single in the first inning and has made 2 beautiful defensive plays. A diving snare that robbed Gene Segura of a base hit, and then he started a double play, a 4-3 double play on Segura.
Colton Wong is an excellent defender, and you think about this pitching staff and the guys that they have that generate the ground ball. Certainly you'd love to have that kind of defense out there. He's shown up in the highlight reel quite a few times this year.
Wong had a little problem with his wrist a few weeks ago. Sat him down for 3 days. Wrist injuries and hitters aren't a great combination, but Wong seems to have bounced back well from it. Question right now is Matheny going to allow Garcia to return to try to finish this one as Wong draws the walk.
Was it 99 pitches Garcia is? So we'll find out soon enough what they decide to do. It doesn't look like he's not on the on-deck circles. We see Steve Cishek warming up.
Maness was up for a while last inning, and now Cishek, the former Marlins closer, loosening. Matheny sent Matt Adams on deck, and it'll be Tony Cruz here, so maybe that is the answer.
So they're not even going to pretend, right? We see sometimes where the pitcher goes out there and it's kind of a decoy, and ultimately you bring your pinch hitter in. But I think for Mike Matheny, he's already played his hand, and it sounds like that's going to be it for Garcia for tonight.
So the rookie Hauser in his major league debut trying to escape here with a scoreless inning for Milwaukee. And yep, handshakes all around. So Walker comes over and says, "Job well done, sir." Jaime Garcia, 8 innings when the Cardinals needed him, answering a Pittsburgh win. And now all that frustration kind of turns the other way, right? Cardinals fans can't get the Cubs to win a game against the Pirates. And now the Cardinals 3 outs away from beating the Brewers, and Pittsburgh can't gain any ground on them if that plays out that way.
Well, I wonder how interested the Cubs really are in helping out the St. Louis Cardinals. A pretty heated series in Chicago the last time they were there after Matt Holliday got hit in the head.
Big chopper out to short. Segura with a nice easy hop. Cruz is out, and a major league debut for Adrian Hauser is in the books. Works a scoreless inning. Garcia looks like he's out, and the Cardinals are trying to secure a win for him as we go to the ninth. Fueled by Gatorade. And how about we go back to the at-bat of Michael Reed, his first big league at-bat in the 6th inning, and he led the inning off with a double, and he scored the lone Brewers run. That'll be a moment he will not forget. He got a great hand from this St. Louis sellout crowd, over 45,000 on hand tonight.
The Cardinals fans will always do it right. My favorite part of watching that hit was when we showed it back in slow motion. We saw Michael Reed's eyes kind of light up as that ball was going down the left field line. You mentioned it. You said it. He will never forget that. What a special moment. You work your entire life. Mom and dad driving you around all the Little League games and everything else that you put up with, and you get rewarded with that first big league hit.
All right, tell us about Steve Cishek. He's on here to try to finish it off. 3 outs away from a victory for St. Louis. 98 wins is what they are shooting for. Chris Davis will lead off. And a very good bullpen got better when they acquired Cishek.
Anytime you can add a guy who has closed at one point in his career to not closing your bullpen, you know you're deep and you know you have the kind of arms that can take you deep into the postseason. And for Cishek, an interesting guy, lost his closer's job in Miami, comes over here to St. Louis, has thrown the ball a little bit better. The walks have been a little bit of an issue for him this year. They have creeped up on him. He's not going to get you a ton of strikeouts anymore, but it is that funky arm angle, so difficult to pick up against right-handed hitters especially. We saw that first slider kind of swept across, and it's just a very uncomfortable at-bat for right-handed hitters.
Cishek came off the mound a little awkwardly after that last pitch. That one right in the middle of the zone. That is a foul ball. I was watching Cishek after that last, not the pitches two prior. And let's see if anything is here. He's not his normal gait, and he started walking off. Clutched at his right side a little bit. I don't know, maybe making too much of it, but the Cardinals are very sensitive right now. There was a wince on there.
Absolutely. You saw a little bit of a grimace, but it doesn't seem to be anything too serious or that has affected him.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Davis. Cishek misses away. Cishek is so unusual in that not just the submarine delivery, but he throws gas from that sidearm delivery, and he's 6'6". He has good velocity, good breaking ball. Nobody ever really thought he'd end up as a closer in Miami, but he handled that job well last season. And now he's in a late relief role, and John Mozeliak went out and grabbed 2 former closers to try to bolster his bullpen.
Well, more often than not, when you see a pitcher start to go to that lower arm angle, it's because they've lost velocity and they can't get anybody out from a traditional arm angle anymore. And you're absolutely right. When you see a guy that can still bring it a little bit, as you see 90 there, but just to be able to freeze hitters because of the angle, you're thinking about Chris Davis is at that point, that slider that he just saw, working away, and then you paint a fastball. But even though he's 6'6", he probably pitches like he's about 5'4" because of how low he gets. With just a perfectly located fastball, good movement. That ball's a ball most of the way and comes back and just catches the outside corner.
Now, you don't really see velocity like that from that angle. As Santana on the first pitch, fly ball, right field, that's fair, and it's caught. Beautiful play there by Piscotty. He's bounced all around the field this year. Corner outfield spots. He's even started the game in center field. And he makes a very good play for the second out of the inning, and the Cardinals are an out away from returning to a 3-game lead in the division, dropping their magic number to 5, and win number 98. Hernan Perez, last call for Milwaukee. Jaime Garcia, an out away from his 10th victory of the year. 8 innings, 1 run tonight for the left-hander, and a wave and a miss. Cishek has him at a ball and 2 strikes. And down he goes. Cardinals win. And CJ back to a 3-game lead for St. Louis. Magic number 5.
And after getting some bad news before the